Thanks. Welcome. It's October 20th, 2020. My name is Joe Weston, and we're here for today's weekly online global practice for reviving the global heart. And I'm very excited to have a guest here, which I'll say in a moment, as we're starting this series of every third meditation, we'll be bringing in a guest. And I just want to say welcome to those of you who are here for the first time. You are certainly welcome. If you wouldn't mind, maybe in the chat, letting us know what city you're in. And for those of you who are coming back on a regular basis, it's really a joy and a pleasure always to see your faces and to be in community with you, especially at this time, with all that's unfolding on the planet, with the level of uncertainty. And we're here to hold this space for a vision of a world that could manifest lasting peace, and holding space for this idea of where we as a global community, if you see us as like the global heart, in what ways is our global heart suffering at this moment? Either that it's running slow, or it's overtaxed, or it's at high blood pressure level, or at literal standstill, like where it just feels stagnant. And what can we do to within ourselves to revive our own hearts, to elevate our own the capacity within ourselves of our highest values, and not just for ourselves, but for those around us and for our communities and maybe the planet itself. And to be able to take that revival within ourselves of the joy and the spark of our highest values in our hearts with courage and skill, and to move that out into the world. And that's what we practice here on a weekly basis, in community, supportive community of one another. And today I want to introduce someone who I've recently gotten to know, and for me, it's been I cherish the genuineness and the almost divine spontaneity of our interactions and how we've got to know each other. And I have to say that Bhaskar Goswami, who I'm getting to know, is someone who does inspire me. And as of all of you, helps me settle into myself with a feeling of, I'm not in this by myself. I'm not doing this alone. And in a COVID world where we're very isolated and our communication is mostly through internet, to just know that there are people out there who are holding space for a vision of what can really be manifested on this planet. So I'm not going to say I'm going to give Bhaskar a chance to speak, but he's doing some amazing work. He calls himself a speaker, a mental health specialist, and a yogi-preneur. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And he's got two endeavors he's doing. One's called, where is that? Bodhi, which is taking wellness into corporations and organizations, and something that he's founded, which is the global Daana mission, which he's going to talk about. And I've always been, from my traditions, excited by the concept of Daana and generosity and the devotional practice of sharing. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Bhaskar has to say about that. So Bhaskar, welcome.
Delighted to be here with you all. Thank you, Joe, for this warm invitation. I'd like to actually tell you guys a story. So get comfortable and get into story mode. And this is a story that is as ancient as it is modern. It is Eastern, Western, pragmatic, profound. It works in many ways. So I hope you're ready for a little story time. So this story actually begins in a small town called Duliajan in Assam, India. That's where this young boy grew up. And I grew up to an engineer father, a teacher mother, so middle-class Indian family. And there's this sort of unspoken agreement that my sister and I had with my parents, which is that we study hard and get good marks, and they provide for us. It was like a give and take of sorts. Not just me, but all my friends as well had the same sort of inherent understanding of give and take. We behave well and we get well supported, this sort of a thing. And I saw it in my parents as well. They studied hard in their profession and they dedicated themselves in their profession. They gave their skills and they received money for that, paycheck. And I also studied hard, got good marks, just give and take. And later on, it was my turn to become an engineer. And I also worked very hard, diligently, and I got my paycheck. So this notion of give and take was very embedded in me from a very, very young age. Um, Another story was happening in parallel to this time, which is that every morning, since I was a little child, our school began with yoga. So imagine about 1,000 children, all neatly lined in rows and columns, wearing white t-shirts and shorts every morning, with a megaphone instructor in the front shouting, inhale, exhale, we're doing inhale, exhale, and I'm somewhere far at the back. And that's how we started every morning. And I loved it. And I came home and I saw my father practicing yoga. And he was in the headstand. And I remember as a little boy trying to push him down. And now my children did that to me. So that's, I guess, one form of karma, understanding karma. So I really got really passionate about yoga. I've often said that amongst 1,000 yoga instructors, you'd be very lucky to find one yoga teacher. And amongst 1,000 yoga teachers, you'd be extremely lucky to find one yoga master. And such is the story. I found two yoga masters. One, Yogacharya Tyagaraja Nandakumar, and the other one, Shiromani Siram. Both spectacular names and very spectacular human beings. I was so in awe of how they were just gracefully flowing through life. My young eyes just couldn't believe that human beings could live that way. And I was very grateful they took me in as their son. And we dove deep into this practice. And since then, I was like an engineer by day and just inhaling everything yoga in my spare time in terms of theory and practice. And soon came the day when I became a yoga teacher myself. And then something very peculiar started to happen. I was still showing up. Technically, I was still working. I was giving a yoga class and receiving remuneration. That give and take was there, but I didn't feel like I was giving anything. I was just witnessing these people going through such profound transformations, and to have the privilege of witnessing the states they were experiencing, and then the appreciation afterwards, and then the contribution afterwards. I couldn't believe it. It's like, I didn't give anything. I received the whole time. Didn't make any sense to me. And I've really taught classes where I made no money at all, and I've taught a class where I've made over $6,000. It's the exact same class. So this whole notion of give and take suddenly just didn't hold true anymore, because every part felt like it was giving and no part it felt like it was receiving. So then I reflect back to the very first time I met Yogacharya Tyagaraja Nandakumar. And I remember just walking into this South Indian family's home. I'd never met them before. They're complete strangers. And they had moved all their furniture. They rolled out yoga mats, about 12 people or so. I took my place. And there was this teacher. And he just taught with so much love, experience, and kindness. And after the class, everybody just gave him a white envelope, and I just followed suit. And I just put some money and gave it to him. No idea how much to give, no idea what the right amount is. And it occurred to me that that's why it feels so wrong to charge a fixed amount for teaching yoga, because yoga was never taught this way. Since ancient times, it was always following the system of Daana, which is spontaneous, generous contribution. So back in the ancient times when a yoga teacher taught, they just taught to anybody and everybody. And if you were a prince, maybe you'd give some jewelry. If you were a business person, you give money. If you were a farmer, you'd give whatever crop was growing at that time. If you had little to no means, you would sweep the floor, cook the food. You just gave whatever you could spontaneously from the heart, not as remuneration, but really as appreciation. It's so wonderful that you're giving me this gift, and may my little contribution help you give this gift to others as well. And it was actually when I went to my first Vipassana meditation, and S.N. Goenka explained Daana, I just got goosebumps everywhere. I said, oh, that's what it is. We forgot about Daana. It's almost like there's a very beautiful tree that we like it so much. We took the tree, we transplanted it. It might look the same, but we left something very important behind. We left the roots behind. And the roots are generosity. The whole system of this sharing has been from a system of generosity. It's the very first teaching of the Buddha, Dana. And not just that, every culture that I'm aware of really value generosity as the highest ideal. Every temple, church, gurudwar, synagogue, monastery, and everything else, they're all built from generous, spontaneous contribution. Somewhere along the way, though, something happened. Somewhere along the way, it became a little mechanical. It became maybe a little bit self-interested. And we lost the feeling behind it. There is something about just giving spontaneously that is so healthy. And in this time, so going back to 2015, my girlfriend and I got very inspired by this idea, and we did a crowdfunding campaign. We just made a 3-minute video, put it on Indiegogo, and that video made $17,000 Canadian from people from all around the world. People from Dubai, from Hong Kong, Singapore. People have no idea who we are. They just saw the video and they just gave $500. It's unbelievable. And with that, we started a not-for-profit and built the website and the app and so on around a very, very simple concept. And the concept is people generously offer their space, like a space like this. A teacher generously offers their gift of teaching, and students generously participate and share the experience. And afterwards, they make a Dana contribution so the classes can keep going on, which is an anonymous contribution. So suddenly, these wellness practices become available, accessible to everybody. So it takes down all the barriers, all social, gender, age barriers go away. Everybody can access this, because to me, when I look after my body, my mind, I see it really as a birthright, as fundamental as breathing, that everybody could have access to. It also creates a wonderful sense of community when we're there in this vibe of generosity, in the aura of generosity. It's always been so beautiful, the experiences. Since 2015, it's just been a crazy story. We were invited to Morocco at the climate change conference to speak about generosity. We were invited to Hong Kong at the world's biggest startup festival to explain the Dana concept. We were invited in the startup festivals here. We won the CBC Media Prize, Startup of the Year. Again, just invited from generosity. We've had over 200 regular weekly activities, over 30 retreats now, and all kinds of activities. I started with just yoga, but now we have dancing and martial arts and fitness and nutrition and laughter and, anybody who can uplift the human condition in any way is welcome to come and play and share their gift, and the contributions allow them to keep doing so. It's a very simple idea, as old as time, is just coming forth again with the latest technology, what I call Daana 2.0. But it's a very, very simple and ancient idea. So along the way, having been in the forefront, a front row seat of this project, I've learned a few things along the way about generosity. One thing I'd like to share with you is generosity is really a cause. Sorry, it's really an effect. I apologize. It's an effect. It's not a cause. The real cause is noticing. When we really notice something, we can't help but feel the generosity. So much is given to us just for pure enjoyment if you just stop to notice. Nature itself is so generous. And I've often said that it could have been just one flower, a rose would have been enough. But instead, nature gives us so many different varieties of flowers, so many shapes and colors, fragrances. Not just that, so many different kinds of insects and animals and birds and trees. You look up at the sky, one star would have been enough. We have so many stars, so many galaxies, countless. Nature is generous, and we are built by the same natural principles. And also the way the laws of nature work is that when we're in that state of gratefulness, it's a very pleasant sensation. And to put life very simply, we start with an in-breath, we end with an out-breath. In the middle, it's just a bunch of breaths. And the more pleasant those experiences are, the happier our lives are. And gratefulness and generosity are wonderful experiences to carry with us. So it really lends itself to that. And I've also found that a simple idea that we're all uniquely gifted. And I'm for sure not the first person to say this and nor the last. We're all born with unique gifts, knacks, talents, attributes, and so on. In fact, I think it was Einstein who said that we're all born genius, but if you ask the fish to climb a tree, he'll spend his whole life feeling foolish. But if the fish is swimming in the water, monkeys climbing the tree, they're a genius. So we're all born genius. So what that means is we all have a gift that we can share. Second thing is we all have the ability to master that gift. It just requires some curiosity. Just like my curiosity for yoga, you can get involved and become better and better at it. Another realization is we all have the ability to share our gifts. This ability is inherent in all of us. Another next realization is it is possible to create a culture, an environment that is conducive to generosity. When people feel safe, when people feel authentic, the best in them comes out. I've seen this over and over again in all the Daana retreats and workshops and classes. When the space is safe, you see the beauty and genius in everybody. So it's possible to create a condition where people are willing to share their gifts. And the final realization is when we do this, we step into the field of what I call reverse economics. In regular economics, if I give $10, I'm short of $10. In reverse economics, if I give $10, I have $20. It's a weird thing that happens when every part is receiving and no part feels like they're giving. A simple example of this would be, we start every Daana activity with a generosity story. So invite somebody to express any story of generosity they've experienced. So in that story, the person who was doing the act of generosity felt good. The person receiving generosity felt good. The person telling the story felt good. And us listening to the story, we felt good. Every part benefited from that story, and nobody actually felt like they were giving anything. So there's something very beautiful and ancient and true about this. It's fundamentally a story. I guess what I want to land with is expressing that I get the sense that we've built a story, like global collective stories, so much of it around fear, greed, control, power, scarcity, and this kind of narrative. Daana is an invitation to consider another narrative. What if we are fundamentally gifted? What if we are fundamentally generous? What if we can create ecosystems based on generosity, looking after each other, and creating meaningful community? What would that look like? So that's the story I like to be a part of. That's a story I'm so grateful Joe and Todd are a part of. And now you're a part of because you heard the story. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhaskar. Very touching, very moving. Amelia says, I want to be part of that story. Who wants to be part of that story? Let's be part of that story.
A beautiful story.
I feel very full and very inspired, feeling very grateful right now for you and for your story, and feeling the group and how the group, it feels to me an elevation in our hearts around this. And I think that this is part of the solution. And what I often say is, the problems can be very complicated. The solutions are very simple. Implementing the simple solutions is hard work, because it's a question of rewiring. And we're here for that purpose, to build the resilience and the fierce compassion. In that compassion in itself is a generous act, or a generous state of being. There may be some questions that I'd like to, trying to see, I'd like to lead us in the meditation, and then maybe afterwards we have some time for questions. I just want to say that bringing us back to reviving the global heart, what if this is part of our practice, is to elevate the Daana within ourselves, not just as an idea, but in a day-to-day practice. The way I would say that is, what if we gave up the word to give and we always said to share? That there's no more giving. It's that, from what I understand what Bhaskar is saying, it's sharing. That just in the same way that we are there, the earth provides to us, it's not ours to own. We may have more possession of it than other people on this planet, but what if it's always been something that we have been given to share? And that, so getting away from giving and taking, but simply it's just sharing. And that you share, it's not just resources, but it's also wisdom, right? I'm sure Bhaskar estimates from I know from Buddhist practices that generosity is also sharing wisdom, sharing ideas, as well as resources, as well as offering support. It's a sharing also of access to power. I think that's a big one that's coming up right now. Is that's the new story? Is how those who have power, how do we share that? And how do we create systems where more people can have access to that? And what I always say, that the true generosity of sharing of yourself, right? That it's in your vulnerability that your true power is revealed. And I feel, Bhaskar, that you live that you really live that you told that in many ways. So if we can, let's do our practice. Let's do our meditation with that idea of how do we incorporate this practice we're doing of reviving the global heart, of our access to expanding our hearts to hold all human beings from this place of generosity, from the inspiration that Bhaskar has now shared with us. Getting into a place where you're sitting with your spine straight without being rigid, elongating from the back of your neck, tucking in your chin. Bring awareness to your center and your belly. Lower belly, the width of 3 fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body. Center of personal power, creativity, impulse, awareness. From your center, becoming aware of your physical body. And what if your awareness was laced with a little bit of a gratitude to have a human body, to have the fortunate circumstances of this human body that you have? From your center, become aware of your emotions. Gratitude for the richness of your emotional palette. From your center, become aware of your thoughts, even being grateful for your thoughts, the multitudes of thoughts. And maintaining a connection with your center, bringing awareness to your heart, or the middle of your chest, where your heart power resides. Generosity, gratitude, creativity, courage. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of that part of you that has access to something larger than yourself. The possibility to communicate with or be in relationship with something larger than yourself. And from that place, with the awareness in your heart and in your personal power, your core, what at this moment would you say is your connection with something larger than yourself? And what if that something larger than yourself is abundant and unlimited? Thus cultivating a connection with unlimited resource. With more of an awareness of yourself in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. That sense of awareness now with a connection with yourself in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of your surroundings, keeping your eyes closed. And again, from your personal power and your heart connecting with the space you're in, again, from a sense of generosity and a sense of gratitude. What a joy to have the things that I have. What a gift. With more of an awareness of yourself and your surroundings in this present moment, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Building on your connection and relationship with the richness of this present moment from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those in this meditation circle, various parts of the planet, various parts of Europe, North America, perhaps other places. Really experiencing what does that mean from your personal power and your heart to connect with those in this meditation circle. The generosity of that. Acknowledgement of the shared experience. With more of an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And with more of an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of all human beings, beginning with those human beings that you would label loved ones. Is there gratitude in your heart when you see faces of loved ones, of groups of people? What is your shared experience with them then? Where can you find ways to share? And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings that you would label strangers. What arises in your heart? Is the idea of sharing with strangers different from the experience of sharing with loved ones? Is there gratitude? Thinking of all those strangers that make sure you get food in the supermarket. They're holding so many different roles to make sure that you can have the experience that you have. And from your center and from your heart, becoming aware of those human beings that you would label adversary. Who arises in your heart? Is there generosity there? Is there gratitude there? What opportunities are there to share in this realm? And holding Bhaskar's vision of a world where it's all about exchange, sharing. As you hold each human being in your heart at this moment, take a moment, what would that feel like? Imagine, what would that look like? Spontaneous, generous offering of resources, access to power, wisdom, love. Now with more of an awareness of yourself, your surroundings, those in this meditation circle, and all human beings, from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in Taking all human beings with you in your heart, and this vision of a revival of the global heart from this perspective, bringing your focus back to those in this meditation circle, connecting again from your center and your heart. Taking those in this meditation circle with you in your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Bringing your surroundings back into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. Let yourself be inspired by the fun, creative ways that you can find deeper levels of generosity with yourself. And let's take one final breath to close this practice in through your nose and out through your mouth. Registering the experience you have, taking it into your nervous system, letting it nurture your cells, your organs, your heart, charging your battery of your core, taking it into your nervous system as a way of remembering this. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. And I wanted to make sure there was time. Bhaskar has to leave by 5 minutes before noon, or before the top of the hour. So I want to make sure that there's time if you have questions or comments for him. I do want to say first that we are at Fierce Civility Project. One of the projects we're doing is with his initiative of Global Daana, where we lead the stress reduction meetups to help people make it through the election time. Those are every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Todd, if you could, Todd put the website address for globaldaana.org, but if there's a particular link for that,
please. Yeah, I'll put that right there. It is right there. Todd did it.
Thank you. Please join us, and the idea is we offer the experience, and if you're feeling in your heart you want to offer in return, please do. Tell everybody about it as well. And we're hoping to do more ways of working with Bhaskar and his projects. Any questions or comments based on anything that came up from what Bhaskar was speaking about?
Too simple.
Mostly
Bhaskar, it feels so strongly that the narrative is that we are flawed, evil, and I don't want to deny all of that, but just the what if for me, what if we all have a level of generosity? And the what if possibility and living from that possibility is very inspiring.
I have learned from experience this adage, where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, it grows. It's a cliche, and it's also quite on point. Yes, we have shadow sides, and if we can direct our attention to some of the more wholesome qualities, I've noticed it has a way of growing.
Hi, Bhaskar. That was such a wonderful story. Thank you so much. One thing that really blew me away in your story was kind of merging the concepts of generosity and gratitude. To me, those were always different things. And Joe even put them together in the meditation, you know, that's something that I want to continue exploring. What came up for me in the meditation was gratitude, as you described, and generosity is the act of that gratitude. I was wondering if you could say any more about that. And I don't know, that was just something that came up for me. Maybe there are other ways to look at that.
It's very beautiful. Thank you. I mean, what Joe did was he allowed us to experience a more generous noticing. So we got to notice this mind-body system more clearly, more generously. And as soon as we do that, a natural gratefulness kind of arises. It is quite something, 50 trillion or so cells somehow creating this living system. If you really stop to notice, you can't help but be at awe. And as soon as you start to notice and experience gratefulness, the next thing is you care for things you value. So as soon as we start to care, like I would care for my body, you know, through meditation and yoga and so on, or eating correctly, we kind of extend that out to a more macro, global sort of thing. The same principles are at play. The more we notice, the more we appreciate, the more we appreciate, the more we care for, the more we care, the more generous we are. The same principle works for this body as it does for, I'd say, all sentient beings. So it's exactly that. It does seem to me that there's something in the quality of noticing that really encourages generosity spontaneously.
I just want to just say, I'm just reading, Portia says, thank you. Said, Bhaskar's story reminds me of something my dad has always said: if you light someone else's candle with your own, there's more light, not less. Thank you,
Oh,
Portia.
so
That's
good.
very beautiful, very beautiful.
So happy to be in this field with you all. I'm really delighted. There's a beautiful sense of a collective intelligence and a global heart, you know, that takes over when we start to care for each other in this way. So very grateful to be sharing this story with you all. It's definitely not a goodbye. It's a to be continued. So I'll hope to co-create a lot more with Todd and Joe and anybody else. This is really an invitation to play. It's like kids in the playground. You're just inviting other kids to play with you. You know, whatever gift you have, making sandcastles or whatever it might be, you're just inviting people to be a part of this. And suddenly that becomes more and more. And the other story becomes less and less. I think Buckminster Fuller said it beautifully. We don't have to fight an existing system. We just have to create a better one so the old one dies of natural atrophy. So this may be one way of creating a better system. Thank you all very much.
No, you have to go. If you want to know more about Bhaskar and his events that he's doing on Global Daana, check it out. And if you're all very nice, maybe he'll come back and keep participating in our global this session as well, when he's not busy. I know he's a very busy man. But thank you.
So much love, everybody. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So we have a few more minutes. If there's anyone who wants to share, just want to open it up. If any things you want to share without him being here, now we can talk about him. No, just kidding.
I'd just like to, Keith here from San Francisco, I'd just like to piggyback on his last comment about what Buckminster Fuller said. And there's growing evidence in medicine and in healing that when it comes to mental illness and addiction, that the healing occurs when we create new connections in the nervous system that ultimately grow and take over, and the old systems wither away. So it's understood at our human body level that this idea of Buckminster Fuller's really is what's at play when we're talking about true healing.
I'm appreciating that. Thank you, Keith. And I just want to reiterate that why I'm so grateful for what we do here is that, it's the neural pathways that create the new habits, right? So in any ways that there are so many organizations and so many individuals that are holding this vision for the revived global heart, for the very principles we're talking about. And that what I believe is it's about weaving all of them so that they would become stronger. I talk about the power over system. How do you overcome it? It starts with power within and then power with. That the more we can create these alliances, and find ways to engage with each other, and not just to engage, but to foster deeper connections, to inspire one another. I feel inspired when I hear you all share, and when we hold space. And the idea is to continue to bring guests in to continue to inspire us. So if you know people that you think would be interesting, let us know. Were there any other last, maybe one more person to share before we close? Jennifer, I see you raise your hand, but I think you're muted. Jennifer?
What now?
Oh, we hear you a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I just want to say thank you for this. I started a grief counseling class last night, and one of the things they suggested was meditation, and this couldn't have come at a better time. I really needed this morning. Thank you.
Well, welcome, Jennifer. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Thank you. So just to reiterate, in terms of, we're here every Tuesday, 11:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tell all your friends about it. Let's see if we can expand it. Think of fun places around the planet, people you might know, to just get some to increase our web, using the World Wide Web to create this web of connection. In 3 weeks, on November 10th, Kevin John Fong will speak, who's an amazing man who holds space for a planet around racial and economic justice and equity, and comes from deep spiritual traditions in his own activism that he'll be working with us and from the heart. So keep that on the radar. He'll be the guest the Tuesday after the elections in the United States. I'll be leading the one on the day of the election, so you may want to be here. And just to let you know, the stress reduction sessions, there's a series, and it's tomorrow evening, and the last one will be the Wednesday after the elections. So that might be a place for you to maybe to work on regulating your nervous system, to keep that in mind. And as always, if you have any questions, get in touch with us, and to keep in touch. Anything else, Todd, we need to say? Or did you put the link? You did put the link for that.
Yep.
Okay.
We're good.
All right. So let's just dedicate these energies that we've generated. May the positive merits, the energy that we've created as a collective here from around the world, just to think for yourself. Open your heart in generosity and spontaneous generosity of where you feel that this energy, if it could be directed towards places that could use support, where would you like them to go? Just for yourself, people you may know, groups and initiatives, continued shift of the paradigm on this planet from scarcity and greed to generosity and sharing. May all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. May all governments and leaders govern from a place of wisdom as opposed to fear and greed. Okay, let's take a breath. Have a great week.